Welcome to another edition of Rick and Bubba University, the podcast. Bubba, first of all, glad to have you back.
Rick, I'm glad to be back. I had to miss a few weeks, but, we're back, and as I was just telling Charles, I'm 99%, 80% of the time.
That's good, and we'll take that. Really, we may be rarely ahead of that on just a normal show. But anyway, Rick and Bubba University, the podcast, this is a time for us to get in a long-form conversation, and today it is one of our favorites. We actually are going to attempt, technologically, to talk to Charles Billingsley as he rolls down the road in a van. Charles, welcome to Rick and Bubba University, the podcast. How are you, buddy?
I'm great, man. We're just going to try to keep from having any wrecks and hitting a bunch of big bumps and, have a good conversation with you. I'm doing good. How you guys doing?
Well, first of all, glad to see you not wearing a pastel color because Labor Day's over.
Yep. No more white jeans until after May 1st or something like that.
Yeah.
So we, as Rick mentioned, we're going to try to do a podcast with you moving, which is not highly recommended in engineering circles, but we're going to give it a shot anyway.
And let me be clear, for those of you that are already emailing us, he's not driving.
Right.
He's
the passenger.
He's a music man, and he's in the van. He and the band are moving to, I'm sure, the next location where they will bring joy wherever they go.
Yes.
So let's jump in to some of the things we definitely want to talk about. And we'll spend most of the podcast talking about this, and then we'll get to a special concert opportunity coming up a little bit later on in the fall. I want to talk about this new album, The Shadow of Your Smile, and we want to unpack this. So you have, Broadway hits, you got big band stuff, you got smooth jazz, Bubba's favorite, of course, the Great American Songbook. Now these standards have been around. But you are doing some arrangements. I'm sure you went to. There's legends that have released the American Songbook. And tell me what drew you to this project.
Well, you're right. There's many legends that cut these songs, and I'm probably kind of stupid to be putting these things on records because I'm throwing myself in the circles of everything from Tony Bennett to Frank Sinatra to Elvis to Michael Bublé and all that. But at the same time, I have always wanted to do a record like this because I feel like, number one, I love to sing this stuff. Number two, I grew up listening to it, but also I wanted to just branch out and find a little bit new audience to add to, I've done Christian music for 30 years. But a lot of folks don't listen to Christian music, but they like good old standards and stuff. And so I thought, well, maybe I could gain a new audience, not abandon the old audience, but just gain some extra folks by doing a record like this, and hopefully be able to point them to the hope of gospel through it all too. So I've had a great time doing it. It's been a wonderful experience, and I love singing these songs. So it's and the arrangements are all fresh, they're all brand new. There's not a fake instrument on the entire record. Everything is absolutely real. These things are not cheap to make, but I really am glad we didn't skimp on anything. It turned out great.
So Charles, is this step out a stepping stone to what you eventually want to get to, and that's a bluegrass album?
Yes, this was just a partial step that direction, because ultimately my big dream is to be a bluegrass artist. That's right.
Well, and now we've outed it right here on Rick and Bubba University,
yes,
the podcast.
It has now been outed.
Well, I want to get into this, and we may spend more time on this, but Bubba and I, there's a lot of similarities in what you're doing here. Bubba and I have always, and it can be an uphill climb, as you're probably finding out, where you say, in this particular case, for us, like we say, we don't do Christian radio, but we're Christians who do radio. And we certainly talk about our faith, but we talk about other things, as you're hoping with this, that earns the right to also talk about our faith. And I do see that strategy, and I do think it'll be effective. But sometimes when we're very clear on what God has called us to and what the strategy is, sometimes those who we hope love us, and that's our brothers and sisters of the church, they don't like when we do these kind of things. Are you catching any? What are you doing these secular songs?
I really haven't. I thought I might, but I haven't, at least to my face.
Right. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, I'm sure there's been some chatter behind my back, but you know what? I really haven't caught any flack for doing the record. I think I have caught some concern, like people going, well, I hope you're not going to leave the church and things like that. Well, to be honest with you, if you're a child of God, there's no way you can leave the church. You're part of a greater kingdom than a local body. But at the same time, I know what they mean by that. And the truth is, no, I'm not leaving the church. I'm a teaching pastor at my church, and I lead worship everywhere I go. But at the same time, I want to earn the right to be heard from somebody who doesn't or has never even darkened the doors of the church. And if I can use the voice that God has given me as an instrument to sort of just break into a new genre or a new arena, and somebody who doesn't know the Lord or doesn't go to church at all catches a little bit of hope from some of these songs, then maybe I've opened the door a little bit to their soul, to a greater truth. It's not going to happen everywhere. And I certainly don't get into these concerts with this material and stand up there and preach. But what I am trying to do is just put a smile on the face of a lot of people that haven't smiled in a long time.
I know what you're talking about, Rick. We remember Amy Grant getting a lot of pushback on that. But But do you think since that time that maybe the Christian audience has, and I hate to use this term, evolved a little bit in their thoughts that maybe just because you're singing some other songs, you're not a sellout, and maybe we're seeing that in the fact that you're not catching a lot of flack about it?
I think that's true. You've got Amy and, of course, Michael W., who did this early on, but you also got a lot of just what I would call mainstream artists who are not believers. I mean, you got people who are in country music and jazz and classical and even rock who are bold about their faith. And I think it's awesome because, in the end, I think believers need to be in, just like in every business, I think believers need to be in every genre as well, and in all forms of entertainment. We got so many Christian movies out there now. I really think that it's been a powerful sort of journey we've come on the last 10, 12 years to where now you have a lot of Christian material in the mainstream world. And it's good that you have a message that you're giving with your material, and then don't have a lifestyle to match it. And that's where you really get into trouble.
Yeah, more confusion there for sure. All right, we'll come back. We'll continue our conversation with Charles Billingsley when Rick and Bubba University podcast continues. All right, so Bubba, we talk about the fact that, we're people of faith, and we talk about a lot of things. And right now, you know what? We're going to talk about underwear. But we can't.
Underwear is important, Rick, to the saints and the sinners.
Yes, Bubba, it is. And when you're talking about underwear, the fact that we are guys, we normally don't talk about it either. And there was a time when we think, underwear, it's underwear. But that is not true. When we found Tommy John underwear, they are so much more comfortable. Everything that you do in your active lifestyle, you can do better. And any problems that we've had in the past with the way that God designed us, with all the other underwear tries for men, Tommy John's went and solved every one of those problems. The underwear is breathable. It's a lightweight fabric, 4 times the stretch of competing brands. They come with a no wedgie guarantee.
Oh, you got to have that.
Look,
that's big.
They will not go cave searching. Thanks to the non-rolling waistband, and of course, you and I play little ball, so our legs can cause our underwear to ride up a little bit, but not with these. And they also have the horizontal quick draw fly, which also is very effective. So if you would like to get yours, go to TommyJohn.com/RickBubba right now for 20% off the lounge and the sleepwear as well. Also super comfortable. 25% off on the lounge and sleepwear at TommyJohn.com/RickBubba. And with things getting cooler, this sleepwear and loungewear is fantastic. TommyJohn.com/RickBubba. Charles Billingsley's our guest. He's literally rolling in a van going down the highway and discussing his new project with us. The project, Bubba, is the American standards and some of our favorite songs. It's called The Shadow of Your Smile, and it is available wherever you get music. And, of course, if you are familiar with Charles Billingsley, then you know what you're in for. If you're not, man, this may be a great time for you to try, and what he does. And then that might lead you to some other things he's already done. 15 songs. Club 44 Records got some folks that you're doing some duets with as well. So talk a little bit about how you decided these would be the 15 songs.
Wow. Well, I'm just trying to think of how we could maybe do a deal with Tommy John Underwear and a free CD, or a duo package. That would be really, really something else. But I these 15 songs were the first one I picked was Beyond the Sea. I always liked that song, Somewhere Beyond the Sea. And I heard Rod Stewart's version of that and just really loved it. And I thought, man, that would be a fun one to do. So I wanted to do some big band stuff. In fact, it was originally going to be just a big band record, but the more we got into it, the more we realized, man, I need some jazz standards on here and some other stuff. So the big band stuff is really what I chose first. The Foggy Day, Beyond the Sea, some of those great men. And, even with that, you gotta kind of be careful about some of the lyrics you're singing. A lot of these songs, even written back then, they talk about stuff I probably shouldn't be singing about as a Christian artist as well. So I was real careful about the lyric content and choices. And then from there, we moved on into some more of the luscious string stuff like Shadow of Your Smile and The Very Thought of You. And then one song I definitely wanted to do was a song called Time to Say Goodbye. It's the Andrea Bocelli, Sarah Brightman duet that was so popular in all the countries. And I wanted to do a remake of that. So I did that. And that led to Bring Him Home from Les Mis. And then I decided I wanted to do a big ballad that Elvis Presley sang and many others, but that's the version I heard first. You'll Never Walk Alone. And turns out, I didn't know this, but Jerry Lewis used to do that at the end broadcast of every telecast he did for the, what was it, the Sherathon that he used to do.
Oh, yeah.
And and then turns out that a lot of people heard that song at their graduation. And it's also the song that the Liverpool soccer team sings during every game. And so that song is very popular around the world as well.
So when you say the standards, it's not just 12 songs. It's like maybe 100 songs or 200, and then you kind of pick out which ones you want. Because when I hear standards, I didn't know, Rick.
Well, the American standards, it's quite a list, and then you start dropping some of this jazz in there. And, I mean, it was a lot to work through, but you also think about this, and that you even answered the question. You also got to go in there lyrically and say, I may love that song, but I can't sing that. I mean, that I'm not going to do that. So you got to find songs that fit, too. We have the album at the house. I come in many times, and you know how wives love candles, and there's scented candles are going, and this album is playing in the background. Sherry and I have slow danced to the songs. It's a little creepy when it's you singing, but Rick,
I can't even tell you how much that makes me smile to know that you're slow dancing to my record.
Well, we really have, and and then of course Danny Boy makes us all cry.
Yeah.
So. I mean, you dropped Danny Boy on there. I
did, man. That was a low blow, I know, but I had to. It's one of my best friend's favorite songs, and we treated it really cool. It's just a guitar and a choir and me, and it's a really cool version of it.
I've got to tell you got to get one of these truckers to honk the horn. We see them going by. I want you just to see if they'll give you a little honk there.
Well, I just tried that guy. He's not looking at me. I'll try the next one.
Yeah, just at any time, just break right in. Of course, when I hear the song Danny Boy, Rick, it reminds me of my all-time favorite movie, Where Eagles Dare.
I knew you were going to say that. I knew you were going to say that. I knew it.
Danny Boy is in Where Eagles Dare? I didn't know that.
No, one of the code words they're using is Danny Boy, and he's Richard Burton's in it, and he's calling Danny Boy, and it always reminds me of that for some reason. Strange tie-in, and especially on this podcast, but it was on my mind.
Well, hang on, let me try this guy right here.
All right, see if we can get
Hey, sir, honk. Man, ain't nobody looking at me over here.
Well, they're all looking at their phones.
Yeah, I think
that's right. They're all texting.
Maybe if you were female, you'd have more luck.
Well, there
I don't
you
know.
go.
That's probably so. Well, I could roll up my sleeves or something. I don't know. I'll give it another shot.
You picked the wrong day to put those pastels up.
So, how many venues have you played already with this?
Yeah.
Oh, you know what? That's the thing. We're just getting started.
Okay.
We did a big concert in Lynchburg with the Lynchburg Symphony.
Ooh.
And then the next big venue is right there in Birmingham at Samford University at the Wright Center on November 3rd. And then in 2023, we're hoping to hit about 20 different symphonies around the country with this record.
Yeah.
I forgot you went to Samford.
I know.
All those times he'd been to town, I forgot you had been here for a long time.
Yeah, and they used to let him come back over there till he started appearing on our show.
Right.
But then,
there was a little bit of separation.
The timing of that was really strange, but you're right, Rick.
So you
know what?
You got the full symphony with you on this too.
That's what I was going to say.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah. I mean, the whole Alabama Symphony is playing this thing, man. It's going to be an awesome night. Awesome.
And you're saying that, and we'll come back and talk more about it, but you're saying when you go out and do a day, because you talked about Virginia, you're doing it in Alabama on November 3rd, and we'll talk about that a little more when we come back. So when you put together the 20 dates in 2023, you're going to have a symphony because that's what goes well with the album, right?
Right. We're going in with a full symphony, and we'll use the local city symphony to do it. That's right. And then I'll bring in my rhythm section that I'll carry, but yeah, we'll be with the local symphony. So I know we're going to be in Plano, Texas, with the Plano Symphony in July next year, and several other things that we're working on. So it should be a lot of fun. And what's really neat is that these crowds come and they're usually season ticket holders. So they come to all the symphony concerts, but this is a little different in the sense that we're doing all these standards instead of like Beethoven's Fifth or something. And so it's more of a pops type concert is what they would call it. But we closed the concert with It Is Well. And it's a really cool moment. So, all
right, we'll come back more with Charles Billingsley when Rick and Bubba University, the podcast continues. All right, so Bubba, you and I, let's just be real here. We've talked about this more than we wanted to lately about life insurance. So
it may be time to check yours like it was ours.
I know, TMI, but the bottom line is this: even when you and I were having, it's one thing to say let's have an adult conversation, but we've had to have those that were like, adult, real serious, mature conversations.
Right.
But praise God for the great report. But at some point, Jesus is going to return, or we're going to pass away. And when you think about life insurance, you really want it pretty simple. I want my loved ones to receive a certain amount of money when I pass, those that depended on me. And that's what Ladder has done, Ladder. They have simplified buying life insurance. And the older you get, the more difficult it is. So make this move now. They are 100% digital. No doctors, no needles, no paperwork. When you apply for $3 million in coverage or less, you don't even have to. That's amazing. Answer a few questions about your health in an application. Now, if you're wondering how people are liking this, 4.8 out of 5 stars on Trustpilot, and they made Forbes' Best Life Insurance 2021 list. It just takes a few minutes in a phone or a laptop to get it done, and their smart algorithms work in real time, and Bubba, they'll find out if you're instantly approved. So no hidden fees. You can cancel anytime you want, get a refund if you change your mind in the first 30 days. Life insurance was just made so simple by going to ladderlife.com/Bubba, and you find out if you're instantly approved. That's LADDERlife.com/Bubba, ladderlife.com/Bubba. Charles Billingsley, our guest, as he rolls down the highway, it is the life of a musician, singer, songwriter. You're on the road, we're in the van, and we're talking to him about his new project, The Shadow of Your Smile, 15 songs, big band, Broadway, smooth jazz, the Great American Songbook. It is a side of Charles you may have never heard, or if you've never listened to Charles Billingsley, what a great way to be introduced. Let's talk a little bit, Charles, about November the 3rd. So November the 3rd is part of this new tour supporting this album. Well, you'll come to our home state, but like Bubba mentioned, in a special move, you'll also be returning to Sanford University, where you graduated, the beautiful Wright Center. Now, I would appreciate this if you would work with me, because this is my mother's birthday, and I've convinced her that I've booked you for her birthday.
Right. So could you make her feel special?
Yeah. So if you could, we're coming to the concert. Could you just act like that everybody was invited to my mother's birthday party?
Oh yeah. In fact, we'll just call it a concert/birthday celebration. What's your mama's name?
Well, it's a true Southern name, and she does not like this name, but her name is Ganale.
Ganale.
And you so wish it was something easier for you to remember. I might even write it on a poster
and hold it up.
Hold it up. Ganale is here. So Ganale Burgess, or you could just say Mrs. Burgess would be fine.
Okay. All right.
And she will be 81. And she is excited about us bringing her to hear you.
Oh, I'm excited about her coming. We're going to make sure she's in some perfect seats, and I may have to even sing happy birthday to her that night.
Well, I wasn't going to say anything, but boy, you would really put me, because I compete with my brother and sister on who's her favorite. I think that would move me up the list a little bit.
At least temporarily.
And
where do you feel like you're on the list right now? Are you in the bottom tier, or are you close to the top?
Well, my mother missed a great opportunity to be Jewish, and so you can literally be number 3 and 1, 2, and it could rotate from literally
quickly,
day to day.
Yeah,
and so you struggle to stay up there, and my mother literally lives out the joke that we talk about. Do you remember the joke, how many Jewish mothers does it take to screw in a light bulb?
No, I don't remember that joke.
Just forget it. I'll just sit here in the dock.
You did that pretty well, Rick.
So that's my mom to a T.
Charles,
I know you're busy, but I sure would like to go to that concert.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? We may have an extra seat for you.
Charles, I'm curious, because we've done this whole interview with you going down the highway. Where are you at exactly?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Well, we just left Pigeon Forge, where we've done Women of Joy with 10,000 women. And then we stayed there and did another conference called Celebrators, another one of those Phil Waldrop conferences, where we had 10,000 senior citizens. Now, there's quite a difference between Women of Joy and Celebrators, but they're just as fun. It's just that you got to treat them a little different,
Well, how do you do that, Charles? In what way? How do you cater to those groups?
Well, Women of Joy is a little bit more aggressive. We do a little bit more rock and music, and I could easily wear pastel without no problem.
Yeah.
I was wondering if the dress attire had anything to do with it.
Well, and then I'll probably throw on a sport coat for the Celebrators, and we slow things down a little bit, but they're just as fun.
Maybe wrap up a little earlier. Get them out of there by about 8.
Yeah, but that's the nice thing about Celebrators is we start at 9 a.m. They're all in the room by 7:30.
Yeah, ready to go.
We finish early in the evening, and so it's a nice, quiet hotel. It's just a little different. Yeah,
so
I like it.
Do you have, just so you won't get any complaints, do you get up there and hold a hymn as you go through the songs?
Well, I've never actually held a hymnal in the Celebrators, but we do a lot of hymns. Yes, we do.
I bet you do.
And it's a lot of fun.
Do you ever hold
Michael W. Smith, and he did the entire Christmas concert with a full symphony.
Oh,
wow.
So that was a lot of fun.
Well, that's one of the things we love to have fun, and you got a great sense of humor, but Bubba, I know you've seen it too. That's one of the things I think God has really gifted you. I've seen you, at men's conferences, and we cut up and have a lot of fun. Hey, by the way, we're back together this summer at Gridiron.
Yes.
And we have fun, but I've watched him with men's conferences, youth conferences, women's conferences. Sherry did that tour one year, and even like that, and your ability to just be able to cater to the room and be so versatile. Is that something you've worked on, or is that just one of those things God?
Or are you just a pro?
Yeah.
Man, you know what? It's really strange. It comes fairly naturally to me, honestly, because I don't know why, but like I even take on the accent of the people I'm talking to, and I don't mean to. It just happens. So I don't know. I guess I just feel like whoever's in the room, I just want to communicate to them as best I can, and so, sometimes it does take a little thinking. There's a big difference between women's conferences and men's conferences. And so I have to be intentional about how you're communicating in each one of these. But, it comes fairly naturally to me, I guess. I don't really feel like I'm having to work too hard to do it. But I guess that if I had a gift, that might be what it is. I just sort of have always had an easy time adjusting to whatever audience is in the room.
Do you ever show?
I enjoyed it.
Do you ever show the clip of you as a running back running that 80-yard touchdown you showed us?
No, man, I need to show that more often because that's one of my glory moments in my life.
I think for the men's conferences, especially, that would help give you some footage.
You should
footing on that.
Listen to this, and Bubba and I, are really into marketing, so hear us out. You go find, because you've kept yourself in shape. You go find your uniform. You put the gear on. They show the highlight, and then we have a split in the screen,
and you run
through
with smoke
as you're running that touchdown. You come through that screen
right into the audience.
Welcome to Gridiron.
Yeah. Oh, that's
with
awesome.
A mic in my hand, and then go into a big ballad.
Maybe you take your helmet off to sing.
Yeah, you take your helmet off to sing, but the eye black stays.
Yes,
but the eye black stays.
And the John 3:16 on the eye black.
Oh yeah, definitely John 3:16.
And there'll be some confusion
under my eyes.
Some people will think they're there for Charles Billingsley, and they'll nudge somebody and go, "I didn't know that Tim." Tebow is going to be here.
Yeah, they'll look at him and go, wow, Tim Tebow stopped working out. All right, stand by. We'll come back. More with Charles Billingsley when Rick Bubba University, the podcast, continues. So having a great time, but talking to Charles today. But, Bubba, you and I have dealt with this, even talked to America about this. How many times somebody says, I need a product, but I cannot find any company that really sees the world the way that I see it. I'm always having to compromise, the way I am politically or spiritually with some company because I just don't have any choices. Well, can I tell you that Patriot Mobile is going to take that problem away when it comes to your cell service? Patriot Mobile has affordable plans for you, your family, even your business, and they offer the same nationwide coverage as the major carriers because they use multiple major networks. Plus, you're supporting a company that shares your conservative values with every single call. So why don't we tell you to do this? Why don't you go to patriotmobile.com/RickBubba or call 972-PATRIOT. Get free activation with the offer code RickBubba. Now put the name together, patriotmobile.com/RickBubba. Join this movement. They're out there supporting sanctity of life, freedom of speech, Second Amendment, Christian conservative candidates. So go to patriotmobile.com/RickBubba. Get great service and compromise nothing. All right, so Charles Billingsley, we've got a little more time with Charles. New album is out, The Shadow of Your Smile, and Charles Billingsley will be taking on the American standards, big band, smooth jazz, and even some Broadway. So, Charles, and be careful here because I don't want you to feel uncomfortable. Do you like Broadway?
Well, you know what? It's funny. I've only been to a couple of Broadway shows.
That's shocking.
I can't say that I'm a big Broadway fan of musicals, but I am a big fan of some of the music from Broadway. And so, some of the songs through the years that have really made a huge impact around the world. And one of the shows is Les Mis, and that's where we did a remake of Les Mis' song "Bring Him Home," and that's such a great story of redemption. Anyway, it's just a powerful show, and so I've always loved that song and thought this would be a good chance to do a remake of that one. So we did. In fact, the guy that arranged it for my record has directed Les Mis around the world more than anybody who's ever lived.
Wow.
He's directed that show somewhere around 1,300 times. and he's the one that actually did the orchestration for me. So it's pretty cool.
Did you see too? I don't know if Bubba you saw this, but Tim Davis is producing this 15-song CD that's out now, available, "The Shadow of Your Smile," and he also worked with Barbra Streisand.
Oh yeah, he was her background vocalist and the director of all of her vocals for her last world tour.
He was her what now?
Yeah,
say that one more time.
You broke up just a little bit. He did what for Barbra Streisand?
He sang background vocals for her around the world on her world tour, but he was also the director of all of her vocalists and her vocal arranger. And so not only that, the show Glee, he was the vocal arranger and producer of those vocals for 8 years on that program. He's produced Lady Gaga's halftime Super Bowl show. He's done all kinds of stuff. The movie Happy Feet, he did all those vocal arrangements. He's amazing.
Charles, I don't mean anything bad by this, but what is he doing with you?
Man, that's a friend right there. That's only.
I'm joking.
I asked him the same thing. Well, I don't mean anything bad by this, Tim, but why on earth would you work with me? Oh my gosh. He's been a great friend over the years. And you know what? He is incredibly gifted. And I don't know, he's just a good buddy, but great believer. And he's really the first call guy out in Los Angeles for a lot of these movies and a lot of things. So it's really cool.
That explains one of the songs on here that I could not figure out, Poker Face. I got it now.
We did a big band version of Poker Face.
Right. That's awful. Let me ask you this, Charles. And I mean, my mind is just working. Bubba, we've done so many, events and things like that, and obviously spent some time in a band too. Noticed that we were overlooked in the project. He's done a lot of stuff here, but let me ask you this, because I'm trying to think about how it works. And I know these musicians and these symphonies, man. Yeah. I mean, they are gifted people, and so it's probably not a big deal to them. But so how does it work? You're coming, like, say, November 3rd. Let's use that one. That's the next one. You're coming to Birmingham, Alabama. You're going to be singing these songs with the Alabama Symphony Orchestra at the Wright Center. And so I guess they're sent your arrangements, and how much do you get to work with them before we're all sitting in our seats and ready to go?
Well, believe it or not, Alabama Symphony is one of the few symphonies in the country where this is their full-time job. So I've already sent them all the charts, and they will put them all together, their assistants and everything. And then they may have one rehearsal before me, but I'm not sure if they will or not. But we will not actually be with the symphony until that afternoon. So we'll have a rhythm section rehearsal that Thursday morning. We'll rehearse one time with the orchestra, because they're all union players, that afternoon, and then we'll do the show that night.
All right. So wait a minute. Are they going to do all 15 songs one time, or just?
That's right.
Okay, so y'all will run through the whole thing one time.
We will rehearse it one time, but these are pro musicians, and so literally they can sit down and they can read these charts one time through, and it's usually just about perfect.
Oh, it's great to work with pros, isn't it?
Do you find you're a boy? Do you something Bubba has never experienced?
Well, and that's why we're saving y'all for the bluegrass record.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, but no, I'm just thinking about it. So I've seen you before, and
titled "Come and Get It."
Come and Get It, and you and I've had the honor of, and we love to have a good time with you, but God has really gifted you. And if you've never seen Charles or never heard him, go get this album. You're gonna love it. No matter how many times you've heard these songs, you haven't heard Charles do them. But let me say this. I know that you do a good job interacting with the audience, but I would think when you're dealing with a symphony, you pretty much got to stay in the arrangement. Not a lot of freelancing in the live show. Yes or no?
Well, Yes, but the freelancing. Well, yes, you're right in the sense that there's not a lot of freelancing in the actual song because they're playing charts that are pre-written, and so it's not like a worship song where I can just add a chorus or something with my rhythm section and have no problem doing that. So the arrangements are pretty well set with what they're doing. However, there's a lot of freelancing in between the songs and stuff. So we'll still have a lot of fun. But once I get into the actual song with the symphony, I can't really deviate a whole lot, or else I'm going to freak out about 60 players.
Yeah, you can't turn around to the violin session and say, "I tell you what, let's do Devil Went Down to Georgia." How about it?
Watch me for the changes.
No, there's not a lot of that going on.
Watch me for the changes. We'll come back. We'll wrap up this edition of Rick and Bubba University with Charles Billingsley right after this. All right, so Bubba, we're enjoying our time with Charles. It's almost over, but does it feel weird to you that we do the show every day, the big show, and we play all these clips of the president trying to convince us we're not in inflation isn't happening?
Well, he's not reading the news. We have new numbers out today.
Okay, so whatever you're hearing from the government, you see the prices of things, okay? You know what's going on. Bubba just told you the latest inflation numbers are not good.
Nope.
The stock market is volatile. Well, I mean, that's all over the road right now. It's having some of its worst days in 2 years. Let's just say this to you in case you're buying into what is being spun. The economy is not well. It's not healthy right now. So, and we got interest rates going up again. November going up again.
Yeah, 1st of November, and I would expect 1st of December too, if you believe the prediction.
So it's a good time to diversify with gold and silver, and to do that now. We're going to point you to Allegiance Gold. Our friends there can help you protect your IRA or 401k with physical gold and silver. So if you prefer, have it delivered even directly to your door if you want. Their approach is different. They're going to, Bubba, you literally, even you and me could sit down and them go, well, this would work better for Bubba's situation. This will work better for you. I don't want to sit down. They go, well, we just tell everybody to do the same thing.
Right.
So they're going to design it for your situation. And right now, if you go to protectwithrickbubba.com, get their best offer yet, up to $2,500 of free silver on a qualifying purchase when you tell them that Rick and Bubba sent you, or just use that URL, protectwithrickbubba, put it together, .com, and mention us if you call 844-790-9191. That's Allegiance Gold, protectwithrickbubba.com, protectwithrickbubba.com. Wrapping up, got about 7 more minutes or so with Charles Billingsley. Let's hit you with what we've been talking about. His new album, The Shadow of Your Smile, features big band, smooth jazz, Great American Songbook, Broadway, all from Charles Billingsley. And as I said, until you've heard him do these songs, don't say, I've heard some of these before. You need to hear Charles do it. But also, we do want to point you that there will be a bigger tour coming up in 2023. Virginia just got to experience this songbook with the symphony there, but the Alabama Symphony will be performing The Shadow of Your Smile with Charles Billingsley, and it's going to benefit a great organization called Portraits of Hope. It'll be at Samford University's Wright Center. Get tickets by going to tickets.samford.edu. Portraits of Hope. You know, Bubba, you and Betty and Sherry and I have worked with the Love Lady Center before.
Oh, yeah.
But this organization is like, all right, they're leaving the Love Lady Center. They're doing better. They've graduated. But then what happens to them? Well, the Portraits of Hope is helping them to get settled into their new life. It's part of the Love Lady Center, but it's that next step for the women who are leaving after they have taken on the problems they've had with drugs and alcohol, to try to get them back on their feet. So the proceeds will go to that great organization. And at my house right now, they have a book of portraits of the women who have gone through there. And Charles, should I tell Bubba? There's a portrait of Charles.
I didn't want Bubba to get jealous.
Somebody's painted Charles. I have a picture of Charles painted by an artist.
I need to see that.
And a picture book in my house right now.
Yeah. If you want one, Rick, I can get you an enlarged version of that to put on like your wall or something.
Well, there's a spot right next to me in the studio.
We were just talking about
We've got
that.
a perfect place. And if we could have this painting of Charles right there and let everybody keep asking us, and what we'd like to do, just deadpan, which is the kind of humor we love, somebody to say, so tell me about what's over Rick's shoulder. Oh, it's a portrait of Charles Billingsley. Mm-hmm. And then never say anything else. And
never say nothing else.
In your best pink button-up.
Right. So,
yes.
But all kidding aside, a great ministry, and so this is going to help. Yeah. This should help them. And this is a beautiful room if you've never been there. It's got great seats, and the sound in there is very good.
And Rick, I will add to that a lot of the portraits, most of them will actually be on display there at the Wright Center that night. So people will actually be able to see the portraits and read the stories of these incredible women that have come to the Love Lady Center and what they've done since they graduated. And also, there will be several hundred of the graduates from the Love Lady Center at the concert. So it's going to be a really fun night.
Well, it's something that we're looking forward to. And like I say, it will be my mom's 81st birthday, and I will be bringing her. So
let me just say happy birthday to Ms. Burgess in advance.
Oh, yes. Yeah, that's been the ongoing thing. My birthday just happened, and I turned 58, and every time I'll say in front of my mom and dad, I can't believe I'm 58, my mom will say, you realize what that does to me.
Right.
Imagine having a son that is 58.
Yep.
That's right.
So, Charles, how old are you now?
I'm 52. In fact, I will have graduated, this year. This is my 30th anniversary from graduating from Sanford. And this concert is happening on homecoming weekend. So believe it or not, this is my first time to sing on that campus since I graduated 30 years ago.
Are you serious? I thought you would have been back 2 or 3 times.
Well, ever since I went on the Rick and Bubba show, I'm just kidding.
Well, look, it comes with a cost. We know that.
That's right.
We know that better than anybody.
I just, for one reason or another, I haven't had the opportunity to be back. So I'm very excited about this.
Yeah, this is a big deal. They say you can never go home, but I think you can. If
you don't stay too long.
If you don't stay too long, if you don't believe that, just ask Jesus. But yeah, you think, all right, if he can't pull it off, it just can't be done.
Yeah, it ain't gonna be done.
So how long? How much of the catalog do you go through? How long is the actual concert?
Man, we're gonna do almost the entire record with the addition of a few other things. So. The concert, there will be an intermission, but it'll be about an hour and 45 minutes long. And so it's, they'll get their money's worth for the tickets. And also the proceeds all go to support Portraits of Hope. So it's a really, really cool night. You can buy your tickets knowing that the tickets are going to help a nonprofit organization that's doing a lot of great work. And I'm just honored to be a part of it and thrilled that the Alabama Symphony and Sanford University are going to be using several of their students in the choir. There'll be a choir there too. So it's going to be a big night. And I'm just honored. So excited to meet your mom and sing happy birthday to her as well.
Well, I'm not asking you to do that, and you did break up a little bit, and some people are going to be critical. He was not speaking in tongues, so we don't say anything about there's no one here to interpret.
We had no catcher on this end.
But you were talking about they're going to have a choir there from Sanford and be part of that, and I don't want you to feel pressured to sing happy birthday to my mom, except that we'll move you to the number 1 slot. But I don't want you to feel any pressure to do that whatsoever. But I will say this to you, Charles, and we're wrapping up, and I thank you for making this possible with us today. But Bubba and I, you stepping out and doing this album, and I know what your prayer is for it. But I can't tell you the number of times, and this is the one that's probably the most glaring. And there's many like this over the last 28 years and 10 months for Bubba and me, trying to be in the world but not of the world, and be Christians who do radio. And but there was a story of a guy who was doing nothing but searching interviews with Frank Caliendo, the comedian. Okay, and I'm saying this to encourage you, because I believe this album will be used to get people back to the other stuff you're doing and ultimately point them to Christ. And so I think this is actually a great idea. And so he found Frank Caliendo, the comedian, being interviewed, and one of the interviews was with us. Well, then he went from that interview to watching the show, from watching the show to the Wednesday Bible study to watching the Wednesday Bible study to giving his life to Christ. And then my pastor had just returned from Sydney, Australia. He emailed me, and we plugged him into a local church in Sydney. So
it's a long way, isn't it?
Yeah. So just know, I say that, and Bubba says that. We say that as an encouragement, okay? And we're excited.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, we're excited about the project. Thanks for including us, and look forward to seeing you on November the 3rd.
And if you get into town early on Friday, come by and see us.
Yeah. Please. Well, I think we're planning on doing that. So come by and hang out. That'll be a lot of fun.
I will.
All right. Thanks, Charles.
Man.
Charles,
thank you, guys.
Charles,
be careful out there and keep it between the ditches.
That's right. The new album, "The Shadow of Your Smile," is available wherever you get music. We have it. We love it. And then the concert for those of you in Alabama coming November 3rd at the Wright Center. For the rest of you, look for the tour coming in 2023. And thanks to all of you for being with us on this edition of Rick and Bubba University, the podcast.